footage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's a dark, misty morning, the 1st of August. We've started our new times a little earlier than usual, and this is Safari Live. Ready.
Standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live. You are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Safari Live. My name is Byron, and of course, on camera with me this morning is Craig, and we've got Taylor and Senzo on the other vehicle, and Alice and Chantal in the final control. Now, don't forget, everyone, as usual, we are completely live, so send us your questions and your comments to hashtag Safari Live via Twitter, and that's how you can get hold of us. Now, it is a really early morning. It's still very, very dark, so we've got the spotlights out. We'll see if we can find anything. I'm hoping to bump into some nocturnal animals that might still be running around. Let's wait and see, and hopefully we bump into something. We had such a wonderful afternoon yesterday. It started off rainy and dreary and cold, but Taylor managed to find a male leopard, and I managed to find the Agama pride. So we had a wonderful afternoon. It turned out to be just perfect. Well, bar the cold and the wet. But it was great to see the Agama pride again. They're all looking good, they're looking healthy. The two Birmingham males were with, or two of the Birmingham males were with them. Nice to see those big males walking around. So it was a really great sighting. Nice to spend time with them. So we'll see. They headed down to the southwest. So we're not sure exactly whereabouts they. Oh, there we go. There's a little nocturnal creature, a little scrubby. Oh, it just disappeared behind that bush. A little scrub hare. Apparently, Karen, you say you heard a leopard calling on the dam cam. I assume it was on the dam cam. I'm not sure how far it was. I didn't hear anything last night, but we'll have a look around. Taylor's gone slightly north, I think, checking towards the gate, and see if there's any sign of the Agama pride coming back this side. I'm going to try find. Here's a bit of mist. It's still very overcast by the looks of things. It's chilly this morning. James, we didn't receive any more rain during the night. It stopped raining during the safari, the sunset safari, and then stopped. It didn't rain again. So it wasn't a great amount of rain, but what it's done is it's kind of settled all the dust a little bit. It's made everything nice and fresh. The rain is always welcome, especially this time of year when it is so dry. Any little bit of moisture that we can get is very, very welcome. Again, tracking in this. Yeah, James, you say it's been a while since spotlights were needed at the start of drive. It's not ideal, James, to tell you the truth. I'll tell you why, because I think in this light we probably miss a lot of the tracks. So it's a bit tricky, so we just have to take it slow. and we'll see. But it is difficult while driving, using the spotlights. I mean, from this angle, even with the there goes a scrub here. There are two. There's one just next to us over here. Oh, off it goes, darting away. This spotlight isn't very powerful, is it, Craig? It's like, I think this is a 3 candlelight power when they're meant to be about 1 million. See, so as I was saying, it's difficult now to see tracks. John, no, that rain that we had yesterday won't change the foliage, won't change the plants, it won't make anything go green. It's not nearly enough, and it's not that time of year yet. It's still winter, it's still very, very dry. That bit of moisture, all it did was settle the dust, and we might get to see some little green grass shoots popping out of those burnt areas, perhaps. But other than that, it's not going to make any difference. It just wasn't enough. It was a light drizzle. It didn't stop though for quite a while. It was nice to have it, but yeah, it's not nearly enough, John. All right. Well, Kyle, you always you say the early bird catches the worm, and the early safari guide catches the leopard. We shall see, Kyle. We shall see. No, I always used to laugh at my guests. A guest would say to me with these early morning wake-ups, and they'd say, "Oh, well, you probably get used to it, don't you?" No, you don't. You definitely don't. I suppose it does become part of the routine. But we used to laugh about it. Some guests would come down for the morning coffee and they'd be quite grumpy. They wouldn't speak to me for the first hour or so of game drive. It's just too early. Some people aren't morning people, and that's okay. I understand it completely. I get like that when I'm hungry. I told you I get seriously hangry. I'm not in the mood to chat. But the funny thing is, I now know I do it. I now know that I go quiet and that I just don't feel like speaking to anybody. So I end up laughing at myself, which, as you know, I do a lot anyway. But I can definitely tell when my mood changes when I'm hungry. Michael, look, to be honest, it's nice to start a bit earlier. I think the thing is, though, in winter it's still quite cold. Cold and dark, you're probably not going to get as much movement from the predators. I found that in winter you start seeing a lot of movement from animals just as it starts getting light and the sun starts warming things up a little bit. Then animals really start moving around a lot more. You'll hear lions and leopards moving around at night, without a doubt. They're nocturnal and they prefer moving around at night. But these early mornings, the cold mornings, fresh mornings, you might not get as much movement until it starts warming up a little bit. That's generally what I've seen from predator behavior. Animals might go and lie down round about now and then try and move around, but you never know. We could bump into a nocturnal animal still moving around. The only thing is that, like I said, you don't want to miss tracks or anything. Keep trying to check, because yesterday that's how we found the Nkahuma pride. We just saw a track of one male, and there's something through there, Craig. It might just be a little Stenbok. think just through there behind that tree. I can't see what it is. Is it an impala lying down, perhaps? Yes, it is. So I'm not going to shine the spotlight. It's an impala busy lying down. So sometimes when you see those eyes glowing back at you in the long grass and then they lay down, you just double check. You can hear ground hornbills calling in the distance, quite far. Alright, well, excuse me, I'm going to check this area for some honey badgers. Let's to Taylor, who's got a river and she had a few gremlins. Go to Taylor so she can say good morning.
We did have the gremlins, unfortunately, but we are here out and about nonetheless. Morning, everybody. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is the great king from Kenya, Senzo. Great to have you back, Senzo. I thought you'd enjoy that little opening. Now remember, this is live, this is interactive, this is happening right now. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter with all of your questions. Now it's quite beautiful out here today. Let me see if I turn all my lights off, what happens? I turn the monitor off. Remember, we had this discussion that my light switch is a great combination for, well, turning lights on and off and then making my monitor flicker. It's misty, it's beautiful out here. I think once the sun breaks through the first bit of clouds, it is going to be absolutely spectacular, and I'm going to show you why in a moment. We're just driving down the Power Lines Road, and well, it's not too pretty, but we're going to turn off to the left over here, and I think it's going to be gorgeous. Now, this is not where the sun is going to rise, but you can already see that it has started to break just over there. Isn't that very pretty? Very sort of subtle colors of pink, and then, of course, that deep dark blue. It makes for a beautiful setting. And then, of course, you can't really see many of the trees because they're covered in a dense fog, and it's warm for now. I reckon once the clouds break away, that'll probably change. I think it will get actually colder. Now, I apologize. I'm just going to apologize in advance. I'm a little bit sniffly this morning. I feel as though my cold is now turning into something a little bit more, but we'll manage through it. Oh, and well, yes, just in case there's many sneezes happening today. Isn't that lovely? Right, let's carry on. Let's go see what's happening. We're just waiting for Connor to finish changing batteries on Gowrie, on one of our big towers, and then hopefully we'll be able to explore a little bit more. Jeremiah, you said that was an artist's inspiration. It was indeed. You can see why so many people paint pictures, I think, of sunrises and sunsets. I think you've got to be very good to quite get the texture and the colors sort of perfect. And in my opinion, on the few places that I've traveled in, I still think that the most spectacular sunrises and sunsets are out here in Africa. Although I did enjoy watching the sunset over the ocean while I was out in the States. That was very pretty, but then I was also panicking that the yacht was going to sink and then the sharks were going to eat me alive, because I have a terrible phobia of sharks. So that's actually all I was worrying about. And they went, oh, it's very pretty, but the sharks. Now I know I'm being an absolute drama queen, but that's just one of my phobias, and it's a thought that is constantly in my head whenever I'm near the ocean. But I'm not worried about lions, leopard and buffalo. Oh yeah, no, those are fine. That's not a problem. I'll walk with them any day. It's just because I can understand their behavior, and I have no idea about the behavior of sharks. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so it seems as though the Gowrie repeater's batteries have been changed. Thank you very much, Connor. And we can now start exploring and continuing our search. Now, yesterday, what a great day. I know Byron has very briefly recapped about it. We obviously want to try and find either these lions, and the leopard that we got to see yesterday, but no luck just yet. Maybe we'll get lucky. I don't know if they've maybe caught something. I really do hope, though, that the Ngumas catch a nice big meal. I'm all for them eating every single day, and you know what, if it's not on our property, it's sad. Of course, we'd love to be watching it, but it's important for them to keep munching away wherever they go. and they'll go wherever there's food, and we know that there is a lack of food at the moment. Quite a few wildebeest around, but I think they're so sensitive now when it comes to the lions. They hear them and they just go in the opposite direction. Let's go past that little roadblock. We might have to come and clear this up. I can see the wildebeest. They're quite far away though. They're in the middle of quarantine. We're just driving on the very sort of southwestern road that hugs around and goes towards the Bushbrae side. And we'll see if we can get a view of them. And my mic just keeps falling out of my pocket today, so we need to try and wedge that in. Everything's falling apart. There's lots of wildebeest. And trying to think what I heard last night. She didn't hear much barring hyenas whooping through the evening. Other than that, I must have missed any leopards calling or lions calling. To be honest, I didn't actually hear it at all. I don't know if we're really going to see the wildebeest too well. Let me go down a little bit lower. Maybe we get a silhouette of them. Just trying to see where the perfect gap is. Birds are just starting to wake up now too. I suppose you can have a look at them. The hornbills are calling. Some wildebeest, still very early, very misty out here. But they also look like they've just woken up from a quick siesta. Or there's actually a little one that's just gone back down again. They haven't quite decided if they're waking up or going back to sleep. I don't know about these animals, but I reckon if I was a wildebeest, I'd probably stay awake all night. I'd be a nocturnal wildebeest. And I'd try and have my siestas during the day, which they do. And they normally break them up. You see them sitting down at night, but they also continue to feed sometimes. A lot of the herbivores do that. But I'd just be too scared out here. Imagine not knowing where a leopard is, where a lion is, a clan of hyenas. It's quite daunting living your day like, well, the wild animals do out here in Africa. I suppose they don't know any different though. You can hear all the different birds. It's beautiful. I really want to hang around on top of quarantine so that we can see the sun rise. But I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. It's beautiful. Don't you think that tree reminds you of the Whomping Willow from Harry Potter? That's what I see when I look at that. These marudas that have now lost their leaves. When I was down in the south, there was a particularly large marula. I think the biggest marula tree I've ever seen in my life. It was almost double the size of this one in width, not quite height, but it was just it had a very, very thick trunk and it had a whole lot more branches. And that really looked like the Whomping Willow. Alice, are you still there? It's very quiet on the other side now. I'm not sure if I've still got comms, if I'm even still live. No. I don't. Am I still live, Alice? I'm obviously not live because I was talking live. No, I don't know if I'm live. I can hear Alice. Alice can't hear me. I can hear her perfectly. I even tried responding on the radio. Alice, if you can hear me, I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me? I'm not sure what Alice just said. I think she wants me to link to Byron, so we'll just go across to Byron anyway. I don't know what he has, but let's go take a look.
Oh, we've got a beautiful brown snake eagle perched up at the top now. We were mentioning this the other day. It's always nice to see the birds of prey around. And this brown snake eagle has been sitting around scanning the area. Probably still a bit too early to get active for it. But you never know. This brown snake eagle could very possibly be looking for scrub hares or rodents. They may sometimes feed on that too. not just brown snakes. Let's joke around and say, or do the brown snake eagles enjoy brown snakes, or are they brown and enjoy snakes? I'm just going to see here quickly what else. I can hear something breaking branches, and it's very possibly some elephant. So we'll see if we can find it. They say the brown snake eagles mainly feed on snakes and monitor lizards and chameleons. Even chameleons. A chameleon seems a bit small for a brown snake eagle, though. But reptiles. But now when the reptiles aren't active, they've got to feed on something else. I'm sure they would feed on some of the smaller rodents and that around here. Lovely view. Shall we go have a look what that sound is ahead of me? Let's go investigate there quickly. Some branches breaking. We're now starting to get a little bit lighter now. Aurelia, you asked how many species of eagles live here, or do we find in the area. Aurelia, let me try to think. Maybe you can all count with me. So, eagles, we've got martial eagle, the fish eagle, brown snake eagle, African hawk eagle, the batalier. We have, what else do we have? What else have I forgotten? Hold on a second, I just want to listen to that sound again. Still just ahead, still through there. That's 5. Is that 5? Yeah. What else? There are other hawks and falcons and that we got, but in terms of eagles, I think that's. Oh no, of course, tawny eagle. Almost forgot the tawny eagle. The booted eagle we do get out here too. So that's 7. So quite a few. Aurelia, quite a few birds. I'm just listening, everyone. Where is that sound coming from? You would think I would see an elephant if it was moving through here, but I can't see anything. Can you see anything, Craig? Hold on, we're just listening very, very carefully now. Oh, there. Yeah, there it is. That's Ellie. That's an Ellie. Let's see if we can get him. It's quite far in through the bush. What about through there, maybe? And see there, you can actually see the shape. There it is. But look, just look how well camouflaged it is. A big grey animal just feeding away there. So amazing. We stood here for a while and couldn't see it. But we could hear them, you see, and I've said this many times before. When you are in the bush, it's not just relying on your eyesight. You need to use your other senses too, so your sense of smell and especially your hearing, because often you'll hear animals before you see them. Just like this elephant. Oh, and one of my favorite birds is calling at the moment, the black-crowned shagra. Something like that. Here if it calls again for us. I'm trying to see if there are more elephants through there. I can only see the one. There definitely are others. I can hear some other branches breaking. Sabi, you are exactly right. It's amazing that something so large can hide so well. There we go. Look, and this is wonderful. These grey ghosts almost appearing out of the misty morning through the thicket like this. This is such a wonderful sighting. I mean, look at that. You can barely see them. And all of a sudden these elephants are just emerging from the bush, from the mist. And they're coming even closer towards us. Isn't that wonderful? You can hear the ground hornbills calling in the distance. I don't see any others. What a nice start. Elephant. My favorite. Some of you saying this is such a peaceful sighting, Ellie's elephant in the mist. And it is, it really is. And I think it's lovely to just sit and listen to these animals. Now, if I had guests on the vehicle with me now, I'd probably just keep quiet. Wouldn't have to speak about anything. Because the sounds at the moment, there are a lot of birds calling. You can hear the elephant crunching or breaking branches and moving through the grass. Just listen to the sounds for a second. Now, I'm not sure if you can hear that black-crowned shagra. I'm almost certain you can. And calling around us. Something like that. I mean, look how that elephant disappears through the foliage at the moment. The dry grey bark and the brown leaves helps even the elephant camouflage. Now, Bree, you asked about the stomach grumblings and would they carry further. So Bree, it's not actually a stomach grumble. It's not. It sounds like it is, but it is actually a vocalization. It's not a stomach grumble. It's a vocalization. That guttural grumbling sound is in actually a vocalization. Now, people have made that mistake for years and always said, "Oh, listen to the stomach grumbles," because that's what it sounds like. But it's not. It's actually a vocalization from the elephant. And Bree, it can cover quite a large distance, but the theory is that the elephants pick up on those vibrations and those sounds through the ground. They have incredibly sensitive feet and sense receptors in their feet that can pick up on the vibrations, and that's how the elephants are said to communicate with one another. So on a morning like this, it won't necessarily affect, I suppose, how far that sound can carry. With lions and leopards, it probably won't carry as far. The roar or the sawing of a leopard, and that won't carry as far because the air is very thick at the moment because there's a lot of moisture around. So chances of it covering further distances are unlikely. Those clear, crisp winter mornings are usually when you can hear them further. Let's see, I'm going to move forward a little bit, maybe get another view of these elephants. It's just the two of them. Just off to the side here now. I was hoping we'd bump into a honey badger around this area because we often see their tracks around here, but no sign just yet. Chitty chatty Megs. You asked if these are two males. It looks like they are two males. Meg, I can't see the one in the distance is also definitely a male. Nice round forehead. The males generally have rounder foreheads as opposed to the females with angular foreheads. But yes, Meg, there are two males, and that's why they are moving around by themselves. Often you get these younger males split away from the herd and move around together. Sometimes they meet up with the big dominant bulls, and these bulls teach them how to be successful. But these are two males, Meg. See it using its foot there to break the branches. Feed on the bark at the moment. Elephants this time of year feed on a lot of bark because there's still some wonderful nutrients. Oh, a little bird that it shook its head at. Looked like a drongo perhaps. Now you might just be able to see a little orange speck in the middle of the screen just to the left of that elephant. That's the sun starting to peek through. Look at that, there we go. Oh, excuse me a second, let me just jump on the radio. Good morning, Mike. Byron here. No updates just yet. Taylor and I are out at the moment. Just two elephant bulls on that new road that goes past that repeater. Yeah, FM. I think Taylor had a brief visual of him last night. He crossed over onto Simbambili, as well as the Nkuhuma Pride and those two coalition members. Amazing to see how they use their trunks and looking for food, looking for foliage. What a nice start. Once you see these two Ellie bulls moving through the thicket. Alright, well, let's head to Taylor, who's apparently got a better view of that beautiful sunrise for us.
It's an unbelievable view of the sunrise this morning. Isn't that gorgeous? That is a very African sunrise shot, don't you all think? Marula trees just down below, and then of course the sun, many shades of red, not shades of grey like Byron's elephants. But isn't that just beautiful? I'm going to sit quietly just for a couple of seconds, because there is elephants behind us, and there's also the birds singing their beautiful tune. Sneaky snap. It was too beautiful and too hard to resist. Now I think we're actually quite close to Byron. I'm not sure whereabouts Byron is, but I can hear elephants breaking trees behind me, so I reckon Byron must be around here too, which is pretty good. We've got the same idea, but isn't that just so amazing? Now imagine being able to wake up to the sights and sounds and smells that we get to wake up to every single day, having the privilege of coming out on safari. So it makes those rainy days feel a lot better when you get to see a sight like this. This is just absolutely, it's unbelievable. I don't even know how else to describe it. Now Mel, you say it just amazes you as to how large that sun is, and you say that it is gorgeous. It is indeed. It is a really, really pretty scene here. Serious thick fog just down in the drainage lines and the low-lying areas out here. Oh, those colors. Now this is something that I wish we could do a painting of. This is my favorite African shot, is across the valley, like I said, with the marula trees, the fog, and then of course a few clouds. Never do any harm when it comes to enhancing a sunrise or a sunset. Oh, and the birds seem to be quite excited about it too. Remember, they've had quite a cold, chilly day for most of the day yesterday. They got quite wet and there was no sun to dry their feathers out. But today they'll be very happy, and it's warm now too, so they won't be too chilly either. Right, let's carry on. Let's see what else we can find. But that is just amazing. Oh, beautiful. Right, let's carry on. Now, I have no idea what we're going to bump into today. There wasn't anything that's come around yet on Triple M, but we can maybe head down that way and check again a little bit later. But for now, oh, it's so pretty. I can't stop looking at the sunrise either. I just want to watch it the whole day. That's so lovely. Yeah, we're very lucky out here. Very, very lucky. I haven't really got a plan today. I'm not searching for anything in particular. I'm just driving. I'm just going to drive, and we will see what the bush provides us with today. If it provides us with anything. We know sometimes it can be a little bit on the quiet side out here. Maybe there'll be some birds that we'll have a look at. We normally always do birding on all the safaris. And we're going to start checking those burnt areas over the next few days too, to see if the grasses, the new grasses, are going to pop through now that we have had a little bit of rain. I don't think it'll be an abundance of grass because it is winter, so some of the grasses do go dormant at this time of the year. But maybe we'll get some, and who knows, maybe even brightens up the color of this yellow stuff that we've got. But we'll carry on, and hopefully we'll find some more animals spend some time with some Dakin, Steenbok, I'm sure. They seem to be out and about at the moment. But let's go across to Byron. I'm not sure if he's moved off from his elephants, but I know he's got some kudu.
I have moved off from those elephants. They're still not far from us though. They're approaching that very prominent or very large torchwood, that Balanites, but we found some kudu. Hold on a second. Let me move forward for you. See if we can get a better view. They're just off to the right. The elephant are still at the back there, and they're heading towards that big torchwood or that Balanites tree. See if there are any tracks around here. There we go. All these kudu. Always nice to see these beautiful grey antelope. The white stripes, just the females here. I don't see a male with them at the moment. Mike for Byron. Can hear a woodpecker knocking on a tree off to our left. I can't see it. I can just hear a slight tapping sound. Seeing these kudu browsing at the moment. I think this is the strychnos that they're feeding on. I think it's a black monkey orange, if I'm not mistaken. Strychnos madagascariensis. I think that's it. Scientific names, they often catch you out. I still enjoy some of the botany and the trees and the scientific names. When we were training, I really enjoyed that a lot. I got quite into that. But often what happens is when you're guiding, because you're focusing on so many other things, you often you don't do or don't talk about trees as much, so you often forget certain little things about the trees and grasses that you've learnt years ago. What's it now? It's now 7 years ago. No, 8 years. Oh, sheesh. What are we? Yeah, 8 years ago. It's a bit of a long time, so you do forget some of those things. Well, that's just when I trained at Londolozi, but when I first started doing trees and grasses was 2003, 2004. It's a long time ago. But it is always nice to be able to chat about certain tree species, and I think it is very important. I think as a professional guide, you do need to have decent knowledge on just about every subject out here, because you are going to get guests that ask you. If you don't know, that's okay, and no one knows everything, but make sure you've got the correct books back at camp that you can then go and look it up and get back to the guests. And don't busk if the guide's watching. James also always used to tell us, don't busk, and basically don't guess, because you will get caught out. So don't guess. If you don't know, rather say you don't know. Now, Miss Lynn, you asked, will the baboon tails start growing, those beautiful little plants? I'm not sure. I'm trying to think when they actually grow. When they pop out. I'm trying to think. I can't remember. For the life of me, I can't remember now what time of year we see those baboon tails. They're these little plants, and they grow these black stalks almost out of the ground. They look like the tips of baboon tails, the end of baboon tails. Hence the name baboon tail. But I can't remember now. For the life of me, I can't remember when they grow. Maybe one of you can help me with that, if you wouldn't mind checking and letting me know when those baboon tails should be growing. Sometimes the seasons start blurring into one, and you forget exactly when you saw different plants. It's just like one of my favorite flowers, the impala lily. I think the impala lilies start flowering around about September, October, August, September, October, I think. And still very dry, very barren, and these beautiful pink flowers pop out. Now, if I see honey badger tracks here, I'm going to be very upset, because I've been looking for the honey badgers, and to be honest, I think I do see one or two there. But it's okay, because we've still got these elephants ahead of us. It would be great to see a honey badger pop out. Still very overcast at the moment. There we go. There's one of our elephant that we saw earlier. Actually, this might be, so now that I look at it, I think this is a different one. The other two I can still hear, and I think I saw movement not far behind us. They are heading in this direction, but this is another young bull. But I can still hear the others breaking branches, so there's still a few of them around. Driving around like this and stopping is great. So Linz and Drew, sorry, you said, yeah, it is spring when you start seeing those baboon tails. So spring will be about September, October, somewhere around there. September, October, November, we'll start seeing them. So probably not just yet, maybe in another month's time. Excuse me. I was saying it's nice to stop and sit with animals like this, because then often what happens is you'll hear other things in the bush, or animals will just come out to you. I do find that sitting around and waiting patiently, you might get other animals appearing out of nowhere. Bothered? Do I look bothered? Reminds me of the I think it's a Catherine Tate show. Jeff, no, the elephants aren't bothered by the rain. They, I mean, all the animals are used to it. They probably enjoy a bit of the moisture on the skin. So no, I wouldn't say they were bothered by it at all. We know how much elephants love water, and they bathe in the dams or go and play and splash around in the water, so they do enjoy water. So I wouldn't say the rain bothers them at all. Vicky, now you asked if this elephant only has one tusk. Yes, it does. Now sometimes what happens, Vicky, is maybe when it was younger, it could very possibly have broken its tusk, and once those tusks break, they don't actually grow or grow anymore. So it may have broken a tusk when it was younger, Vicky. But it's not unusual to see an elephant with one tusk. Often you'll see elephants broken tusks, one tusk, no tusks. We do see elephant with no tusks. So either that tusk just didn't grow out, or that tusk was broken off. I would say it's probably broken off. Well, this is a really nice start for us, spending time with the elephant and the kudu behind us. Very, very peaceful morning. And as I said, it's still overcast. It's still a bit misty. There's an orange glow on the horizon. The sun has disappeared behind some clouds. Elephant feeding quiet, or not that quietly, but peacefully next to us rather. I'm very, very content just sitting peacefully or quietly watching these animals. I think that's also the beauty of the bushes. Sometimes, like I said, with guests on the vehicle, starting like this, you don't necessarily have to say too much. Obviously, if guests are asking questions, you answer, but I find there's nothing worse than if you are on a safari and there's somebody who just does not stop talking, and you don't enjoy the sounds of the wild, or just appreciate the sightings. So you need to find a balance. I guess I'm giving guides or want to be guides some tips. You say, I bet the elephants can get pretty loud while eating. They can indeed. They definitely can. Michael, I think so. You asked if being around elephants has a therapeutic effect. I do think so. I'm just going to roll forward quickly a little bit. Hold on a second. Go, Landy. Yes. I just wanted to get a nice view of this elephant through here. Good morning. Michael, you about that therapeutic effect. I do think so. There's something about sitting with these magnificent animals that is just, I don't know, it's hard to explain. So calming, peaceful feeling, watching them feed, and he's now disappeared behind this tree again. He might still come this way. Let's see. Come on, come say hello to us. Oh wow, look at this. He's gonna break the branch for us. How cool is that? probably smelling us a bit. Now, if there was any doubt if it's a young male or not, you can see now very clearly it is indeed a young male. James, you were asking how old an elephant can get. Well, excuse me, sorry, seems to be a frog in my throat again this morning. James, elephant can get to the age of about between 50 and 60 years old in the wild. That's the average age of an elephant, or that they can reach up to, lifespan rather, is about 50 to 60 years old. See, using its feet again. Now, this elephant will probably strip the bark off of that branch, roll it in its mouth. There we go. Use those molars and premolars to grind down and strip the bark off of that branch, roll it in its mouth. See, what happens with the elephant is they go through 6 sets of teeth throughout their lifespan. So what happens is these molars and premolars get worn down, and as they wear down, a new set grows in their place. So as they go through that 6th set, they then struggle to feed, and that is often what causes the death of elephants with old age. Can't feed, can't get as much nutrients, and that's what they die from. And booming sound of the ground hornbills in the distance. Alright, well, I might sit here a few more minutes with this Ellie, see if he hangs around. Let's head to Taylor, who's apparently got a pretty little bird.
We do. It's a brown-hooded kingfisher, and it has got an enormous meal in the form of these very large crickets that we're seeing out and about at the moment. We're hearing them almost every single evening. Now, that cricket is almost, I'm obviously exaggerating because we as guides are kings and queens of exaggeration, and as I say, it's almost the entire length of that kingfisher's body. I reckon, I don't know actually how it's going to eat this, if it's going to swallow it all in one go, or if it's going to pull some appendages off. No. Ah, oh, my goodness, you did that so quickly and so easily. Well done, brown-hooded kingfisher. Yeah, it probably gives me the heebie-jeebies too, swallowing something like that, but I suppose you're used to it. You're used to eating crickets and all sorts of strange insects. It actually looks quite chuffed with itself now. I think that's amazing. Now that is going to take some time to digest, I'm sure, and I don't think it'll be searching for its next meal right away. It might take a bit of time just to relax, just to rest. And Bree said that was a giant bug. It was indeed. It was a seriously good meal, especially for this time of the year. There aren't many insects out and about. The occasional grasshopper here and there. African monarchs are still about, but not everybody likes to eat an African monarch because they are toxic. But those giant crickets are delicious. Now, I completely have forgotten what species of cricket it is. It slipped my mind. But what they do like to do is at night, when we hear them sort of making their beautiful call, searching for mates, is that they normally dig out a little tunnel to help amplify the sound, which is quite impressive. And there's one that lives in camp. We're able to see almost every single night, and we hear it almost every single night too. So Kingfisher, please come and pay us a visit so you can take care of that cricket, because it makes quite a racket every night. Ooh! Tally-ho, you said number 92 on your bird list. Fantastic. Tally-ho, we'll try and get you to 100 today. How does that sound? So we'll focus on a bit of birding. They keep flying away, though. We've tried to put a couple up on screen, and we even had a grey-headed bushwhack, and literally as we turned the camera towards it, it flew away. It would have been beautiful, too. I was going to play a quiz with you. It was silhouetted against that beautiful fiery pink and orange sky. Now, we're not seeing too many kingfishers at the moment. The brown-hooded is the resident. So I think Byron had a sighting of a grey-headed kingfisher the other day, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was. We're seeing the pied and the giants down at Chitwa Dam, and I'm hoping that we get an opportunity to go and visit Chitwa Dam. That's where we're slowly making our way to, and I'll have to just find out if there are any guests in camp or not, because that will be the deciding factor. But I just think that is lovely. Thank you, Senzel. Fantastic camera work. Very cool. And I hope you got some nice screenshots of that brown-hooded kingfisher with a cricket in its mouth. Remember to hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and share all of them. You can also ask us lots and lots of questions. That's spectacular. Most of you know it's so difficult to get the brown-hooded kingfisher on screen because they like to fly away all the time. But the gremlin's are about to pounce, so let's go back across to Byron and his elephants.
Yeah, still sitting peacefully with this elephant. The others, I can still hear faintly behind us, some branches breaking, but they moved in different direction. I don't know when last I saw a brown-hooded kingfisher, so that's a nice sighting for Taylor this morning. And we do get those kingfishers are here throughout the year, and they feed on the insects. So for one to see one and then find one with an insect is great, especially for this time of year. But yeah, I don't know when last I saw a brown-hooded kingfisher. That elephant just stripped off all those leaves. You see how he pulled his mouth to the side and just pulled the leaves off that branch? Snazzy, no, those trunks, I'm trying to think, no, not that I know of, they don't have bones in it. It's basically just made up of thousands of muscles, little muscles and nerves, so that's what the trunk has basically got. Now I'm trying to think, if right at the base, if there's a bit of a bone there. I don't think so, Snazzy. No, as far as I know, it's just muscle and tissue that the trunk is made of, and very powerful, very strong muscle. Ali, you asked if these African elephants would recognize the Asian elephants as different species. Well, there's obviously the language barrier. That would be a problem. I'm just joking. I'm being silly. Ali, I don't know. Yes, I would assume so, but these animals would never meet. So But I'm probably sure that they would recognize a different species, I suppose. Who knows? Who knows? This really is wonderful. It's you know, I always talk about patience and just enjoying being out in the bush. Doesn't matter what you see, but sitting with an elephant like this, so relaxed, feeding, listening to the sounds of the bush, watching the mist still settling in the valley in front of us. It's just, it really is wonderful. Not bad for a Tuesday morning at the office. Definitely beats traffic. Hey, Craig? Yeah. Again.
I have a bike, I don't have traffic.
Yeah, I was going to say, Craig has got a motorbike. He's the Hell's Angel of the Wild Earth crew. Craig doesn't sit in traffic. He has a motorbike. What do you do with the Batmobile then during the week? Get Alfred to wash it. Here's some hornbills calling out too. Have any of our viewers had interesting elephant sightings? Those of you that have possibly been on safari before, I know quite a few of you have. I'm curious. Have any of you had interesting elephant sightings, or slightly nerve-wracking elephant sightings that have left you a little bit hesitant on the elephant? I'm always very curious. I enjoy hearing stories like that. So please send us your comments or answers. Hashtag Safari Live. If you've had an interesting elephant sighting. Elizabeth, I'm not sure. You asked if the elephants lose condition in the winter. I would assume a little bit. I would assume so. But it's not very clear, Elizabeth. However, when there is a drought, you will see elephants lose condition when there's no food around. You will see the hips being or protrude a lot more. You will see the spine and that all of that start becoming very, very visible. So they do lose condition when there's a drought. But in the winter, generally, maybe a little bit. If you notice, I don't think so. I don't think we'd notice it really. There's a barred owlet calling at the moment too in the distance. Just going to try roll forward. Joshua, this elephant, I'm not sure how old it is exactly. I would guess this Ellie's probably probably around 20, somewhere around there. Oh, listen. He's communicating now. Hold on. I just want to try to roll forward a little bit. Now I think he's round about 20. Just wanna creep closer. Good morning. Why are you shaking? You see how he's lifted his ears. I'm gonna keep quiet now. He's getting a bit closer. Look at that. Busy smelling me. But still no signs of aggression. How cool is that? See, just having a little sniff, he opened his ears just to make himself look a little bit bigger, saying, don't come any closer. But these young bulls, often they get curious, or they're trying to establish that they're a bit dominant, or they test us almost. But how incredible. Wow, this elephant. This elephant is about 3 or 4 meters from him. This elephant. As he bent that branch, it flicked back and a twig flew into my head. Oh dear. Now, Moira, you were saying, was it Moira? Alice? Did I hear that name correctly? Moribs, sorry, I can't hear that name correctly, but you said that you were charged by a young. You were saying that you were charged by a young elephant bull at Motswari. Now, Motswari is in the Timavati. Now, I know that area very well too. Lovely area, a lot of elephant around there. So I'm sure that would have been an interesting. And this elephant's communicating again. I think he's communicating with those 2 other bulls that were. They moved off to the left. So I think he's communicating with them. Now, sometimes these young bulls can get a bit boisterous and take chances and try and intimidate. I do think it all depends on how you handle the situation, because sometimes if they know that they can chase you, or that they are able to chase you, they will do it a lot more. But sometimes you've got to be careful. It does happen from time to time. But the young bulls, they take chances. Really, they're trying to establish dominance. There's a little head shake from that elephant. I don't know what he's shaking his head at. But that was really wonderful. He must have been about 3 or 4 meters from me. Standing, just opened his ears, lifted his trunk to smell us, and then moved on again. Completely comfortable, not aggressive at all. He's still moving around, feeding. I always say my golden rule is a feeding elephant is a happy elephant. So while they're feeding, and you generally know that they're not that fazed by you. But it's not pleasant to be charged by an elephant. I once, and I'm trying to think now, but I've had mock charges by big Ellie bulls, or I've had like a little 1 or 2 occasions where I thought, look, we should rather just leave these elephant and move away. But once I was actually just with my family, and we were in the Timbavati, and there was a big bull elephant that we spotted, but we spotted him from, we must have been at least 50 or 60 meters away from him. He was quite far, and he was walking with serious intent. He wasn't feeding, he just walked and walked and walked, and he saw us, and he just turned and charged. No warning. It was very, very unusual, and all I can think is perhaps somebody had chased him, somebody had aggravated him, and that caused him to then react to the next vehicle that he saw. That is also something that you have to be careful of, is if another vehicle is upset elephant, they take a while to calm down, and if another vehicle appears, they'll probably charge that one too, because basically it reminds them of what the previous vehicle just did. But anyway, this elephant charged us out of nowhere, just turned and came. But he must have charged us, I'm not joking when I say at least a kilometer, maybe a bit more, so almost a mile, that this elephant charged us and kept charging. We drove away a number of times where we lost view of him completely, and he just kept coming through the bush, kept coming at us. And eventually we thought we better not stick around, and we drove out of that area completely. But a very, very strange behavior. Not sure what aggravated him, and it's probably the only time I've ever had that. It's only happened to me once that an elephant has been that aggressive. It was coming for the vehicle. I could see it, but and we were far away from it, so I'm not sure why. So as I was saying, it's just you do have to be careful of the elephant, and you do have to be cautious and respectful of them. But they, I think they do generally give you a lot of warning in that. So our mobile pad, sneaky. you were asking about that sighting, that, or not quite a sighting, the incident rather, the infamous incident that. It got me banned actually by James. I'll tell you that. So when we were training, you asked about the broomstick incident. And James, I believe, has told the story a few times. When we were training, so part of our training is we would have to do these long walks. Now, in those days, when I was young, but we did unarmed walks. So you would walk by yourself through the bush. Now again, this is not recommended. This is only if you're a professional and if you understand the bush. Even some professionals that do understand the bush still do not go out without a rifle. Some prefer not to go out with a rifle. Anyway, that's besides the point. The thing, we did these walks where we had to learn the property that we were guiding on. We would do it by ourselves. We had a radio, we had water, so we were food and water, so we were safe. But it was towards the end of our training, so we had a lot of experience already with viewing animals. But the idea is that you get a feel for viewing animals on foot and being completely hidden so that they don't see you, they don't notice you. So it's a very crucial part of guiding and understanding. Anyway, so we would do these walks. It was about 10 days, or meant to be about 10 days. I think mine was about 15. They made me walk a number of routes again. But I had a broomstick. And it's nice to walk with a stick, and I had this really great broomstick, and I would walk with this broomstick every day. And I had my backpack, and the radio would be on it, and off I'd go and walk. And the one day, bumped into this big elephant bull. Actually, what had happened was, walking along the road, and didn't hear a thing. Elephant wasn't feeding or anything like that. Came around a bend, and as I got around the bend, an elephant was walking down the road from the opposite direction, and it came around the bend too. We both kind of got a bit of a fright, and I backed up slowly. I thought, oh dear, this is not good, and he kept walking down the road towards me. So I backed up, and I then made my way just off the road to try and give him space, and there were a few trees much about the same size as these trees behind me, and I tried to cover myself and stand closer to the tree so I had a bit of protection. This Ellie bull came and he stopped in the road and he turned and he shook his head at me like this. I just stood, and then he mock charged and he came towards me, and often if you make a loud noise or clap your hands, anything like that, elephant do get a bit startled and they'll stop and choose to move off. So I shouted and I waved the broomstick around, and the elephant did stop. It retreated back and turned and moved off. Now, I'd been viewing elephant for many, many years before that, so it wasn't my first elephant encounter, but when I got back to camp, we have to give a debrief all the time of what happened on our walk and what we saw. And I gave the debrief thinking I had done the right thing. James and a few of the other senior guides did not see it that way, and they were quite upset with me, and they shouted at me and they said, "How dare you challenge a 5 or 6 ton elephant bull with a broomstick? Who do you think you are?" And again, it's part of the training, so I understand, I apologize, but they then banned me for about, I think it was 3 days. I wasn't allowed out of camp, and so it wasn't ideal, but they forgave me and they said it was okay, and now we can laugh about it. So James loves that story. Every time we mention elephant sightings or anything, he goes, "Well, did you have your broomstick with you?" So the infamous broomstick story of when I was training. I felt a little bit like Gandalf with his big staff, going, "Thou shalt not pass." Let's head to Taylor. She's got signal again. Let's see where she is.
Well, we've had to move away from Chitwa Dam, sadly. We just couldn't communicate with anyone from Final Control. I'm not sure what's going on today, but we've got some zebbies, as you can see, grazing. I think it's 2 stallions. This one that's closest to us seems to be the younger one of the 2. But I have to tell you, Byron, that's actually a really funny story about the broomsticks. I did the same thing when I was doing my trails guide qualification, my backup trails, for the first 2 weeks. When we were walking and accumulating hours and learning about everything, we too had to carry broomsticks. I think I can even pull out a photo of all of us posing with our broomsticks. It's actually quite funny. So it's a good thing. I think it was the best thing that ever happened to us, is learning to walk in the bush without relying on a piece of equipment like a rifle. It makes you then not want to do silly things. And I think most of us would prefer to walk without a rifle anyway, rather than have to carry one of those things. You know, malfunctions happen all the time. You'd rather rely on your brain and your training than something like a rifle, in my opinion. That is, of course. I can still hear the hornbills calling in the distance too. Not that the zebras seem to mind. I don't know if they really enjoy the beautiful songs that are played for them every single day. Isn't that nice? He's a beautiful looking stallion though. He's a lovely boy. He's quite sort of strong, big thick neck, big shoulders, and of course a very powerful hindquarters. Now, toxigenic, you say gorgeous. They are. They have to have some of the most striking patterns out here in Africa, and now they're actually starting to blend in. Look at that, see, and because these are the Birchall zebras, so they've got the shadow stripe, which you can see very nicely there. It creates that sort of dirty appearance to the zebras. And they also like to roll in dust, so that doesn't help the sort of black and white colors to stand out. But it is that shadow stripe that gives them that sort of filthy appearance. But I think it works in their benefit at this time of the year, because it actually helps them blend in a little bit more. That white is not too obvious. See that? It's like the same color of the grass. I'm just trying to figure out if this is a stallion or if it is a mare that is perhaps with him. I can't figure it out just yet. We'll have to wait until the other one turns, but I wouldn't want to get into a fight with this fella. Now, until we figure out if it is 2 stallions or if it is a mare and a stallion, I wonder where the rest of the herd is, or if it is just a bachelor group. Trying to think. I mean, look at this one. Looks a little bit stallion-like, but just like a youngster. Like it's been chased out now, but we'll be able to identify it in a moment. It's very, very difficult to try and tell the sex of a zebra. There's not many telltale signs. It does help though if you know horses quite well. But I think that it is a young stallion. Look at that neck. See, that neck is quite sort of thick. The hindquarters are big. It's just lacking muscle in the shoulders. But you know, you've got to grow into your body, of course. But we'll see in a moment. And I haven't seen any mammary glands just yet. Come on. Oh, I can hear the hippos at Chitwa. Amazing how the sound travels. Now we're on Cheetah Cut Line too. We must be about 1.5 kilometers away from Chitwa Dam as the crow flies. So that's very impressive that I can hear the sounds of those hippos in the very, very far distance. Now they're just going to keep grazing around here. The grazing seems to be quite good. There's often a herd of zebra running around here. Oh, there's some more zebra coming too. I'm just starting to see some more stripes appearing from the distance. You might be able to see just through the thicket. You see that stallion has responded. So he's looking across the way at that zebra, which I cannot tell you if it's a male or a female from here, but it's coming this way. Putting its head back down again and continuing to eat. So I was chatting to Ari, one of the Nkoro guides. I passed him earlier and I asked him if there was any updates in the east or west, and he said sadly no, they haven't found the lions yet, and they didn't get to see Mvula either last night. So he gave everybody the slip. Maybe he even just sat down in that long grass, and it would be impossible for us, of course, to have seen him. The grass is still quite long in that area. Look at that lovely tail. That's actually one of the nicer looking zebra tails that I've seen. It looks like he's actually brushed it. He obviously hasn't, but it seems to be in good nick, a nice length, great for swatting flies and bees and wasps. Sinatra, you say that the zebra is super photogenic. They are indeed, and now he's using the luxury facilities. That was quick. I wonder where he's going now. He's going around the corner towards that other zebra. Let's see what happens. They're both disappearing around the corner now. I'd love to know what's going through their minds, though. I wish I could get inside the animals' heads and understand what they were thinking about and how they were planning their days. Do they have some sort of a routine, or is it completely random? They definitely have a drinking routine, though. They will go down and drink at least once. But other than that, you know, how do you decide where you're going to go and eat? All these things. I want to know all these answers, but unfortunately, it's impossible to know these answers because we can't have conversations with these animals. Here the hardy-dars, also crested barbets. A couple of turtle doves here and there. It's lovely. Right, let me move forward because I want to try and get a view of this other zebra. And I also want to know if we're looking at a bachelor herd over here, if we're looking at a small breeding herd. That one looks quite big. But then we have seen a couple of mares that look like they're in foal. Oh, this is a stallion, yeah. You're a young boy, though. You've got a lot of growing to do. You're a bit nervous. There they are again. I think this is a little bachelor herd that we've actually got here. There's only the 3 of them. Oh, that's so beautiful. But a zebra does look beautiful any time of the year. It doesn't matter if it's got a green backdrop or if it's got these lovely colors of yellows and rusts and oranges. Something biting you? No, something must be zapping it underneath its stomach. When you can't use your tail, luckily they're quite flexible. That's also something that the animals seem to be able to do quite well, is reach those itches. But zebra are definitely fans of also using rubbing posts, just like we see rhinos and buffalo and elephants using. they will do exactly the same thing. If they've got an itchy bottom, they will find themselves a nice sturdy tree, and they're not shy to wiggle it around and get rid of that itch. It actually looks like it's doing it now. It's rubbing its nose. Well, it was rubbing its nose on that stump just in front. That was my horse's favourite spot to be scratched, one of my many horses, but Remo, that's the guy San Remo, he was a lovely horse. He used to love it if you tickled his muzzle. That was his favourite little spot. And off they go. Back down towards the drainage.